I will take my career on a timeline where, in general, society tends to start its commencement. At the end of my senior year in high school, 1977, I was awarded the Stan Kenton Jazz Band Award, which, amongst the music students in my school, this was the most coveted award of all. What made this even more coveted this year was the fact that, unlike most years prior to that, where the award was chosen by our peers, that year the recipients for all the music awards were handpicked by our very celebrated band director, who always demanded nothing less than 110%. That's really the only trophy I ever won, and I still have that trophy stuffed somewhere in some box. The next milestone happened in 1982 after being in music school at East Carolina University. I decided to go to another school of hard knocks, playing professionally full-time out on the road. It was my first real job working for someone other than my dad at his business. Playing music full-time was way different than the weekend warriors you see playing at wedding receptions and such. Not to disrespect those musicians, but the difference is a bit like if they were in the National Guard, who I highly respect, but we were in the regular army. It's just an entirely different lifestyle and mindset. As far as my musicianship, I learned aspects about my craft that ECU had never dreamed about teaching at any point in their curriculum. As far as the instructors at ECU were concerned, there was no life after Bach and Beethoven, and God forbid that they teach you any job hunting skills unique to the entertainment industry, such as that I've learned since, and even more innovative and effective skills for job hunting like I've learned at Full Sail. I left the road in 1984 because I thought I wanted to get married, and I also thought that I had learned what unique experience the road could teach me. I also thought that it was wiser to get into the conventional corporate America if I was going to get married and have a career. However, I hadn't a clue what I wanted to do professionally. I was of the school of thought that you had to have a passion for whatever your vocation was, as opposed to just working for the sake of paying bills. In the fall of 1984, I saw a documentary on Nova on PBS about robotics and graphic arts. Immediately, my fuse was lit to pursue computers. Initially, I wanted to learn computers so that I could use MIDI technology to write and arrange my own music in my own studio. Well, as luck would have it, bad luck, my hometown had no facility that was teaching any of those disciplines, so I had to settle for the boring data processing sector of computing at the local community college. However, this time I had a fuse burning, and I was passionate about it, and my first year I had my first ever 4.0, and I made the dean's list every quarter. Unfortunately, the next year I had to quit school and go back to my dad's business because, as we would soon have to face facts, it was about to go under. In 1988, the same year my father passed, we finally sold the company piecemeal, a very daunting task for me and my brothers. I decided that I had to get out of my Nowheresville hometown and move to Raleigh, our state capital, and otherwise known around the nation as the Silicon Valley of the East Coast. Unfortunately, I would have to move back 7 years later. In the meantime, between 1988 and 1995, I really only had a series of dead-end jobs. I was looking for that dream job where I could match my great musical creativity with the emerging digital technologies. In 1995, a friend suggested that I get Novell certified, since at that time certification was the fastest growing movement in corporate IT America to entering a well-paying career, as opposed to getting a 4-year degree. It was a whole lot faster and a whole lot cheaper. So I ended up commuting back and forth for about 6 months until I finally got the certification. The only thing was that I didn't have a clue what that technology was all about. However, In 1997, I luckily landed my first real career job with benefits and all. It was a systems engineer job with an office technology company named Icon Office Solutions. Even better, I landed under a manager who became the best mentor I had ever had as far as corporate America. He took me under his very patient wing and taught me everything that I could absorb from his vast and deep well of experience. This position taught me quite a bit about color graphics, as well as how to push a 75 meg sophisticated graphics file to a $100,000 swap printer halfway across the country and still come out right. A lot easier said than done. It was a great job and very fun and challenging. Unfortunately, after the recession of 9/11 and the dot-bomb failure in the technology sector, and the fact that our company was now being run by a bunch of bean counters that hadn't the foggiest notion of real customer service. So in 2002, they eventually eliminated our position completely and folded those duties into the copier side of the printing technology so that it was all under one roof. Back to the dead-end jobs. Since I had found a comfortable niche for myself with customer service and technology, I desperately tried to build myself as a geek with people skills. I applied for and got several call center jobs, hoping one of them would be a place where I could excel through the ranks and make something of myself. The problem as I saw it, though, was that due to the lean times the nation was going through, real customer service was seen as the first corner to cut, and call centers were being turned into the 21st century sweatshops. However, in 2002, there was a positive thing happening in my life that I hadn't expected, and that was that I landed a coveted position as the drummer for my church's fabulous orchestra that was led by my next and best mentor ever in more ways than one. The rhythm section that I played with was probably the best that I've ever played with, and that's saying a lot. The music director also taught me very deep things about myself that were humbling but life-changing. So, seeing as there were a number of fairly high-profile Christian musicians that would frequently come to our church, I did everything I could to be noticed by them because I knew that I was good enough to play with them. And with my music director's very credible recommendation, I knew his reference could put me over the top, but that never happened. Yet another skill set that I began to nurture around 2002 was the prospect of learning how to make money off of the internet. Whether it was blogging, because many people had often told me that I was a great writer, or maybe affiliate marketing was the way, or coupon sales. I desperately tried to make something of those avenues, but what I found most often was the incredible abundance of technology on the internet that was changing every day. With all of these technologies, it was just so overwhelming that I ended up drowning in that tidal wave of technology, so much so that I never knew where to focus my attention. The other issue was that I never had any money that I could invest in the smallest of opportunities. However, I knew that was the way out of these dead-end jobs and creating my own destiny. In 2012, I met a gentleman with plenty of financial foundation who wanted me to join him in a music production company where I would scout for, nurture, and produce young and upcoming vocal talent in the hopes that we could sell them off to the next level up in the industry. I had actually made up my mind that I was pretty much done with the dream of music being a full-time occupation, but I thought since this gentleman had the financial backing that I needed and I wasn't having to schlub my drums all over creation, so I figured I'd give it one more good college try. Well, other than the fact that I had a great apartment that I lived in for free with all expenses paid outside of my car, and I got to tinker in my studio as long as and whenever I wanted, as loud as I wanted, and no one to bother me. Outside of that, the dream was a dud. We hardly made a dime because the atmosphere that permeated the entire country, but especially that industry and that generation, was such a sense of entitlement that it was just disgusting and difficult to work with. Without getting into the discussion of how I think that atmosphere was generated, I'll just say that there was hardly any talent at all that you could work with to be a success at that level. Maybe if I could have bought them for what they were worth and sold them for what they thought they were worth, we could have made some money. But such luck was not in the stars. In 2017, two events changed my world. One was the unfortunate passing of my mom. The other was the result of her passing, where I inherited a handsome sum of money, enough to finance the completion of a 4-year degree in internet marketing at Full Sail University. I could finally learn exactly what I needed to learn about that advanced field of technology and marketing. The other great benefit of that inheritance was that I could now afford to hire a top drawer consultant who could teach me how to open my own online store so that by the time I get out of school, I will already be making a great living for myself. But in case that fails, I'll now have my 4-year degree that I can pretty much go anywhere and make a great living.